Oh no, Nurse Peju. What if I fail the exam? What if the plane crashes? What if I don't get a new job? What if? What if? What if? Is this how we're going to live our lives? Are we going to settle and live in fear? No. We're going to face our fears. We're going to conquer it, and we are going to overcome it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's your favorite nurse, Nurse Peju. Let's go ahead and get started. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite nurse, Nurse Peju. Let's go ahead and get started. I have been so excited about this particular topic. It's talking about fear. And we all face some type of fear every single day of our lives. Fear is one of those things that's supposed to keep us safe. However, if it's not managed appropriately, it becomes more of a burden rather than an asset. And how are we going to turn our fears into assets and prevent them from being liabilities? But before we go ahead and get started, it's your favorite nurse, Nurse Peju. Even though I'm your favorite nurse, I am not your personal nurse. Make sure you check with your healthcare provider regarding anything we talk about today and things that are pertaining to you. And just a quick background, I love teaching. I've been a nurse going on 2 decades, and I love teaching. And the goal on this channel is to find very simple, practical ways to enhance the quality of our lives. That's it. So let's go ahead and talk about fear. So we've all been in school to some extent, and we've all been afraid of something. I, for once, when I was in school, at some point, I was always so afraid of not doing well. And the reality was that sometimes the fear overcame me. And I was so worried. Instead of just studying and getting prepared for the test, I was so consumed about the fear itself. And unfortunately, that did not lead to positive results. But as time goes on, we start to realize that fear is really supposed to be one of those things that's supposed to help us and not to prevent us. It's, for instance, if you see a boss coming towards you, you should be really, really afraid and move out of the way. That is one of those things fear is supposed to do. There's a part of our brain that gets us ready to fight or ready to run. So one of those things. So now let's talk about fear. So I heard this story that I thought was very, very significant. So the guy on his way home every day would always hear this dog barking. And he was always so afraid, and he would always take the long way home. And unfortunately, the long way home was such an inconvenience. And this went on for a while. And the guy at some point got tired of taking this long route. So one day he made a choice. He was like, you know what? I am going to take this short way home regardless of what this dog is going to do to me. So what he did was, I think he took a stick and he was like, worst case scenario, I'm just going to, throw this stick at this dog or something. But I am not taking the long way home. I am tired, I am exhausted, and I want to get home on time. So he did take the short route home, and the dog kept barking and barking and barking. But guess what? When he actually got in front of the dog's house where the dog was barking, it turns out that the dog had no teeth. Think about that. This dog that was so terrifying, scaring him, inconveniencing him, letting him walk extra miles that he did not need to, running all over the place, almost giving him a high blood pressure, really was a dog without teeth. It was just barking. It can't bite. Now let's think about that. In life, sometimes we tend to treat every barking dog as some type of fright event. And unfortunately, when we do not face these fears heads on, we don't know. It's just that simple. So now, but also another part of this story was that before he took that route, he made a decision. He was like, I am going to face this dog. He didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know that the dog did not have teeth, but he came prepared. That is very, very important. That's another part of the story that I want us to acknowledge. So now back to my story and all the fear that was consuming me. I realized there was one particular exam in particular. It was in, I think it was second calculus, right? And before the actual exam, I think I was like an average or C or B. And I was like, you know what? This is supposed to be calculus 2, and I really want to succeed. And you know, everybody was telling me this class is difficult, but another thing was I kept listening to what other people had to say. I forgot that in my younger days, maths used to be one of my strongest subjects, but I let myself be influenced by others, right? So eventually, at some point, after letting like a significant amount of that semester go, and you know, living in fear, and I did okay, but not as well as I believed I could have done. So I eventually sat down one day and I was like, you know what is wrong with this class? And I literally just sat down there and started going through all the formulas in the book. I practiced it on my calculator and everything. And you will not believe it. I believe I got probably the highest score in that test. Nobody could believe it. And there was no way I could have cheated. And everybody was like, how did you do? How did you get that done? And I was like, all I did was practice. And, but before I started practicing, one other decision, you have to understand that you have to make a conscious effort, an intentional effort to overcome that fear, because that fear was paralyzing me and letting me see beyond what was in front of me. However, taking our fears one step at a time and not just going heads on helped me deal with that fear. So, and as a lady of faith, in the Bible, it sure says that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love and of power and a sound mind. Yes. And if you read your Bible over and over again, you can recite this. Now, that's just my faith. But one other thing I know that we can do for sure is our affirmations. I also remember during that period, I ended up telling myself, Peju, you have done this before, you can do it again. I am going to succeed in this class, in this school, and that is what is going to happen. And I told myself that every day. I did not even realize I was using affirmation, and I did not realize how powerful it was. So what I'm saying now is that, number one, when we have fear, it is normal. It is a normal thing. Now, when that fear starts to destabilize our life, that is when that fear becomes a liability, and that is when we have to make a conscious effort to deal with that fear. That is the first part. Make a conscious choice to deal with the fear. Write it down. Now, whatever the fear is, you want to write the affirmation down. So let's say you're thinking, I'm not the right fit for this job. I don't know anything. Okay, that's a fear you're facing. It's valid, and you know, own it, but don't hold on to it for too long. You have to write the opposite and say, you know what? I am a special breed. I am the perfect fit for this position. And you know, keep saying that before you go to work. Once you get to work, just say that several times a day. And suddenly, and what we are doing here with these affirmations is training our brain, because most of the time what we hear, if you hear something well over time, repeatedly for a significant period of time, we start to believe it. So that is where we're going to leave today. So my goal and my challenge for you this week is to go ahead and write your affirmations down. Just choose one fear. Remember, don't just run into it. Approach it. Think about it. Decide. First step is make a decision that you're going to deal with it. Second, you're going to acknowledge it. Actually, the first step is acknowledge the fear and decide that you're going to deal with it. The second step, write it down and write the affirmation to correct that fear. And thirdly, make sure you have a plan in place to support you through that process. What is the worst that could happen and what is the best that can happen? Again, we're going to choose faith over fear. Now, we're not going to end without talking about our pillars. My pillar for the fear part is my physical side. I am not going to lose my mind every time I hear a dog barking. Yeah, that's part of it. And the mental part is we're strengthening our mental self, saying that we can conquer whatever it is. We have all that we need to conquer what we need to conquer. And our emotional part is we feel good, and when we're empowered, we know that there's nothing that can come our way. And for the spiritual part of it, I have chosen faith over fear. And I know you can do the same. So go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you want to share too, go ahead and share. But please go ahead and try that affirmation regarding whatever challenge you're facing or whatever fear that is destabilizing you in your life. You are going to conquer and you're going to overcome. Until next time, stay smiling. It's your favorite nurse Peju. Be sure to subscribe and share and click that like button. See you soon.